Every year, Americans pour enough whiskey to fill an Olympic swimming pool roughly once a week. Bourbon, Scotch, Irish, rye, the bottles keep moving off the shelf at record pace. Today we're cutting through the noise and ranking 15 of the most recognized whiskey brands in America, from genuinely disappointing to absolutely essential. Let's start at the bottom, because someone has to wear the crown of mediocrity. 15. Seagram's 7 Crown. There's a bottle that's been holding down the rail of American dive bars since the Great Depression, and Seagram's 7 Crown is still there, dusty and dependable, waiting for someone to mix it with lemon-lime soda. The problem is, that's all it's good for. The flavor barely registers, a whisper of caramel and corn that evaporates before your tongue can decide if it actually tasted anything. It's the whiskey equivalent of holding a conversation with someone who keeps checking their phone, technically present, emotionally absent. Seagram's 7 built its legacy on volume and accessibility, not flavor. It exists for the 7 and 7, that 2-ingredient cocktail your aunt orders at weddings because she hasn't updated her drink menu since 1987. Neat, it reveals itself as thin, sharp, and remarkably forgettable. You can respect its history while admitting the liquid inside hasn't earned the shelf space it occupies. It lands at 15 because nostalgia shouldn't be a flavor profile. 14. Clan MacGregor. Walk into any budget-conscious liquor store and you'll find Clan MacGregor sitting between plastic bottle vodkas and off-brand mixers. It's one of the top-selling affordable scotches in the country, and that popularity has nothing to do with what's inside the glass. The nose hints at something mildly sweet, maybe a touch of grain, but the palate delivers mostly ethanol heat and a finish that disappears faster than your enthusiasm. This is scotch reduced to its most basic function. It says whiskey on the label, and it contains alcohol. Mission accomplished. Clan MacGregor knows its audience. People who want to claim they're drinking scotch without actually committing to the experience. There's a faint apple note buried deep if you really concentrate, but make no mistake, this isn't contemplation whiskey. It's the bottle you grab when the only requirement is that it pours amber and costs less than a fast food combo meal. 13. Canadian Mist. Canadian Mist markets itself as smooth, and that's accurate in the same way water is smooth. Pour it, and you'll get a light gold liquid with aromas of vanilla and grain that promise more than the taste delivers. It goes down easy because there's almost nothing there to challenge you. For decades, Canadian Mist rode the wave of Canadian whiskey's reputation for approachability. It became the default bottle for people who wanted whiskey without the whiskey experience. All the ritual of pouring a drink with none of the complexity that makes whiskey interesting. The finish is short and sweet, literally, with a corn syrup softness that fades almost immediately. It's perfectly functional in ginger ale or as the base for a cocktail where you don't want the whiskey fighting back. But as a sipping spirit, it's a ghost of what whiskey can be. Canadian Mist earns this low spot because being inoffensive isn't a personality. 12. Jim Beam White Label. Jim Beam is bourbon's most democratic ambassador. 7 generations of Kentucky distillers built a brand that sits on every grocery store shelf, every airport bar, every cookout cooler in America. That ubiquity comes with a cost. The flavor has been engineered for mass appeal, which means it appeals to almost no one with any passion. The nose gives you vanilla and a signature peanut shell note that Beam drinkers either love or tolerate. The palate follows with mild sweetness, light oak, and a finish that exits before you've decided whether you enjoyed it. This is bourbon designed for volume, not exploration. Jim Beam White exists so millions of people can say they drink bourbon without thinking about what that means. It mixes adequately, disappears into cola without incident, and has enough brand recognition to feel like a safe choice. Safe, however, doesn't earn a spot in the top 10. It earns a place among the pack where consistency matters more than character. 11. Dewar's White Label. For over a century, Dewar's White Label has been the scotch of country clubs and business dinners, the bottle you order when you want to signal that you drink whiskey without actually committing to an opinion. The aroma offers honey and heather, pleasant enough, but the taste follows with soft grain and a wisp of malt that feels dialed down for maximum acceptability. Dewar's built its empire on smoothness, and that's exactly the problem. Smooth can be elegant. Here, it's just empty. The flavor never develops, never challenges, never rewards your attention. It's the Scotch equivalent of small talk, polite, predictable, and immediately forgettable. The brand still commands loyalty from older drinkers who've been ordering it since cocktail hour meant something different. But in a landscape full of scotches with genuine personality, Dewar's White Label is still coasting on a name that once meant more than it does today. 10. Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Let's address the elephant in the room. Fireball is the most divisive bottle in American drinking culture. It's the shot that launched 1,000 regrets and an equal number of devoted fans who will defend it with surprising passion. The flavor hits immediately, aggressive cinnamon heat followed by sticky sweetness that coats your mouth like candy left in a hot car. At 33% ABV, it's technically whiskey, but barely. Fireball's dominance comes from its role as a social lubricant, not a sipping spirit. It's the shot you take when you want to feel something fast. College bars move cases of it weekly, and bachelor parties have made it a ritual. But stripped of the party context, Fireball reveals itself as a one-dimensional sugar bomb with cinnamon flavoring. It earns a spot on this list because of its undeniable cultural footprint. It ranks this low because cultural footprint and drinking quality are different metrics entirely. If you're still with us and have opinions forming about where your favorites might land, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. We've got 9 bottles left, and some of these placements are going to start arguments. Trust the process. 9. Johnnie Walker Red Label. The Striding Man logo is one of the most recognized images in global whiskey. Johnnie Walker Red Label appears in every duty-free shop, every hotel minibar, every airport lounge from Los Angeles to Tokyo. Its flavor tells a different story than its marketing. Young grain whiskey dominates, with a flash of pepper and smoke that disappears before it registers. There's bite here, sharpness that demands a mixer to tame it. Red Label was built for highballs, specifically the kind you drink without thinking about what's in the glass. The brand invested in slogans and lifestyle imagery while keeping the liquid accessible to global production at scale. Keep Walking became an anthem, and the whiskey became almost secondary. For many drinkers, this was their first encounter with Scotch, which explains both its sales figures and why many of those same drinkers eventually moved on to something with more substance. 8. Evan Williams Black Label. If Jim Beam is bourbon's everyman, Evan Williams is the quiet worker punching in beside him, doing more with less fanfare. This bottle consistently delivers beyond its price point. The nose brings caramel, toasted oak, and baking spice, while the palate offers brown sugar warmth and a peppery finish that reminds you this is still a budget bottle. Evan Williams thrives in the value category because it genuinely tastes like bourbon, not just an approximation of bourbon. Bartenders recommend it when someone asks for something good but not expensive, and it handles old fashions without embarrassing itself. The finish lingers longer than you'd expect. The flavors hold together with surprising coherence. It ranks in the middle because there's a ceiling on what a bottle at this price can achieve. But within that ceiling, Evan Williams earns respect by actually delivering flavor instead of just promising it. 7. Tullamore DEW. Irish whiskey often gets stereotyped as simple and smooth, which does a disservice to bottles like Tullamore DEW that actually bring some craft to the category. Triple distilled and blended from pot, still, malt, and grain whiskeys, it opens with green apple and honey before settling into a creamy, gently spiced middle that rewards slower sipping. Tullamore built its reputation on approachability, but unlike some competitors, there's actually something worth approaching. The mouthfeel is rounded without being thin, the finish warm without burning. It works beautifully neat, performs admirably in an Irish coffee, and doesn't get lost in a simple highball. This is the Irish whiskey you recommend to someone who thinks the category is boring. It's proof that accessible doesn't have to mean empty. Tullamore DEW earns its spot because it delivers genuine character at a price that doesn't punish curiosity. 6. Wild Turkey 101. When a bourbon prints its proof on the label like a badge of honor, it's making a statement. Wild Turkey 101 is that statement in liquid form, bold, unapologetic, and built to remind you what American whiskey should actually taste like. Under the guidance of legendary master distiller Jimmy Russell, this bottle has been fueling backyard gatherings and honky-tonk jukebox nights for generations. The flavor opens with cherry and cinnamon, moves through rich caramel and maple, and finishes with oak and warmth that sticks around. There's heat here, but it's balanced, controlled, purposeful. Wild Turkey 101 punches above its price point because it refuses to apologize for having personality. It holds its own in cocktails without disappearing, rewards neat sipping without demanding ceremony. The drinkers who love it stay loyal for decades. That kind of following isn't built on marketing. It's built on a bottle that consistently delivers exactly what it promises. 5. Buffalo Trace. Few bottles have generated more obsession in modern whiskey culture than Buffalo Trace. What started as a solid Kentucky bourbon has become the if you see it, buy it phenomenon of the American spirits world. the hype can overshadow the fact that the whiskey itself genuinely earns the attention. Brown sugar and orange peel lead into layers of vanilla, caramel, and gentle oak. The texture is creamy, the finish smooth and clean. There's a harmony here, a sense that every element is working together rather than competing for attention. Buffalo Trace became the gateway bourbon for a generation of collectors, the bottle that introduced them to Pappy Van Winkle, Eagle Rare, and the allocation hunt that now defines the category. But strip away the scarcity and the secondary market prices, and you're still left with a beautifully balanced bourbon that would be remarkable even without the mythology. 4. Maker's Mark. That hand-dipped red wax seal has become one of the most iconic images in American whiskey. Maker's Mark doesn't need to shout about tradition because everything about the bottle and the liquid inside already tells that story. Using wheat instead of rye in its mash bill creates a softer, rounder sweetness that makes this bourbon one of the most approachable premium options on the market. The palate brings caramel, vanilla, and baking spice that feel warm without overwhelming. The finish is smooth and buttery, the kind that invites another sip rather than demanding a chaser. Maker's Mark built its reputation not on hype or limited releases, but on consistency. It's the bourbon you can gift to anyone, order anywhere, and trust completely. That reliability, combined with genuine flavor depth, keeps it firmly in the top tier. This is what happens when a distillery decides that being good every time matters more than being exceptional occasionally. 3. Glenfiddich 12. For millions of American drinkers, Glenfiddich 12 was the first single malt scotch that made the category feel accessible. The stag logo and green bottle became synonymous with discovering that whiskey could be about more than just mixing with soda. The nose opens with pear, apple, and honey, followed by soft malt sweetness and a whisper of oak that never overwhelms. This is Speyside elegance, distilled into an entry point. Glenfiddich 12 works because it doesn't try to convert you through intensity. It persuades through balance, showing you what single malt can be without demanding that you already understand the vocabulary. Critics sometimes dismiss it as too safe, but that misses the purpose entirely. This scotch isn't trying to challenge your palate. It's trying to welcome you into a world where refinement feels achievable. That gateway quality, combined with consistent execution, earns it a place in the top 3. 2. Jameson Irish Whiskey. Ask a bartender what shot gets ordered most in America, and the answer is usually Jameson. The emerald bottle has become the unofficial currency of friendship. The thing you order when you want to toast something real without the pretension that comes with more expensive bottles. Triple distilled for smoothness, it greets you with green apple, vanilla, and toasted grain that feel clean and inviting. There's no smoke, no fire, just pure approachability that never feels dumbed down. Jameson's brilliance lies in what it doesn't do. It doesn't demand attention, doesn't require expertise, doesn't make you feel like you're being tested. It simply delivers honest Irish whiskey that works neat in a Boilermaker or as the foundation for conversation. From St. Patrick's Day parades to quiet Tuesday evenings, Jameson has carved out a role as the whiskey that connects people. That universality isn't a compromise, it's an achievement. 1. Woodford Reserve. If there's a bourbon that bridges the gap between everyday drinking and special occasion status, Woodford Reserve is wearing that crown. Everything about this bottle signals intention. From the copper stills in its Kentucky distillery to the deep amber pour that seems to glow with purpose. The flavor delivers on the promise, cocoa and dried fruit on the nose, followed by caramel, warm spice, and toasted oak that develop beautifully across the palate. The mouthfeel is silky, the finish long and warming without tipping into heat. Woodford Reserve doesn't need to chase trends or manufacture scarcity. It simply executes at a level that satisfies both curious newcomers and seasoned enthusiasts who've tried everything and still reach for this bottle. It's the bourbon you bring to a dinner party when you want to impress without trying too hard, the one that makes people ask what you're pouring and mean it. Woodford earns the top spot because it represents what American whiskey can be when care, time, and craftsmanship align without pretension. That's not just good bourbon, that's the standard. And there you have it. 15 famous whiskey brands ranked from bottom shelf basics to bottles genuinely worth your shelf space. Some ride on marketing while others deliver actual craftsmanship. A few do both. The question now is, where does your favorite land? And did we get it right or completely wrong? Drop your rankings in the comments, hit like if this changed your next pour, and subscribe for more honest takes on the bottles that matter. Sly Tip.